I'm just horrible at this. I'm sitting here talking. You guys couldn't hear me the whole freaking time. I'm sorry,
Hello.
guys. Hey, Dustin, what's going on? Give me 1 second.
How's it going, bud?
It's going horrible. I've already messed up the first 4 minutes of the show. I I played the wrong intro. I just realized I've been talking for 3.5 minutes without my microphone on. It's been just amazingly awesome. It's just how the day's going.
Well, it can only go up from here then, right?
Yeah, we hope so. So it's off the rail. TNT off the rail. We're here now. Intro was bad. I showed you what it's going to be. Now we're back on track. Let's just forget about it and keep going. I got Dustin Duche on the phone. Dustin, how you doing, buddy?
Every day's a holiday, bud.
Oh, it is, isn't it? Just absolutely
Yeah.
loving this. So we called you tonight to talk about something and ask some questions about it. I've kind of looked at it a little bit here and there, but you are working on a new app to help tournament directors and players kind of stay on the same page and get some tournaments going and stuff. Obviously, once we can get back to doing it, why don't you tell us a bit about that?
Well, the main thing I think the main point of the app is try to get more people in to the pool halls. You know, I really hate to see the sport die. So I think it's a way for pool halls to be able to advertise their location as well as tournaments. And they'll be able to specify what kind of tournament, if it's a no masters or anything like that. And if they use the app to pre-register, as long as they use the app, then the tournament directors can see what their standing is, whether they're a standard or an advanced or an open. And it's not going to be like the Fargo system. You know, it's not going to have numbers, but it's going to be like advanced 1 through 3, open 1 through 3, so on and so on. And the tournament directors will be the ones that rank the players. I'm not going to leave that in just the average Joe's hand. But the good thing is that there'll be a facial profile picture that can only be changed once a year. That way people aren't sharing profiles.
I gotcha.
I'm trying to eliminate any way of people to take advantage of it, and people will be able to look up other players. So if you're sitting in your pool hall and some out-of-towner walks in, as long as he has the app, you'll be able to look him up, so you're not getting, people aren't trying to steal tournaments, and you're not losing your money to somebody you just can't beat.
All right. And so it's kind of helps the tournament directors keep a common known list, I guess, so that they're not. It's not you're doing something players are trying to get tournament directors to do is to take it out of their hands and give them something more concrete to base it on instead of, oh, hey, I know you're amazing, or whatever the case is.
Exactly.
So
exactly, and they will be able to run tournaments on the app. They won't have to, but coming down the line, as soon as this thing was not cheap, but as soon as it gets paid off, I have an add-on to this that's going to make it just amazing.
And how's it coming along? I mean, where are you at in development? How long before it's going?
I think I get the testing phase here in the next 2 weeks, so I'll get it, make sure everything is the way I want it, and just run through, make sure that there's no flaws in it, and then after that, it'll go live. Which to use to download the app is free. I've been trying to work. There are going to be some ads in the app, but I'm trying to get a hold of billiard-related companies to advertise in it. But the ads should be few and far between. I don't want to overdo it. But I'm working on something right now to where it would be, if you pay $3 a month, you'll get no ads and get unlimited pre-registration.
Okay. Sounds good. So
I think we can all afford $3. I think.
Yeah, we spend a little more on a few other things here and there. What's the app called?
It's called House Rack. The website is thehouseracapp.com, and if you go on there with the computer, you can actually interact with the prototype of it. Kind of see what it looks like. There's two sides of it. There's the tournament director side of it, and then there's the player profile side, which you can go through and kind of look at what's going to look like. And that's thehouseracapp.com. And I got videos on HouseRack at Facebook.com. There's some videos of what it's going to look like, with the developers going through it.
I'll throw some links in the somewhere in there in the chat box or something like that for people. We'll get them up either that or on the TNT page.
And as soon as the app starts generating some money, I plan on doing giveaways to people who actually use the app.
Cool.
I want to give back to the people who use it.
Yeah, keep them around a little bit. How does the app determine, or I guess separate the directors from the? Is there a certain? Do they have to? Between
when you first go into the app, there's two different sides to it. You can go under player or tournament director, and once you click on that, then you can set up your profile. And when you set up your profile for tournament director, you go put in your address and stuff like that. And I'm not 100% sure how everything's going to work because I haven't actually seen the app. Everything that I've got so far is just like a drawing.
Right.
But it's supposed to be that you'll be able to go on and search for tournaments or pool halls in a certain area, and just be able to pre-register, and the tournament director can either accept or deny your pre-registration, determining like if he has a no masters tournament, but somebody's ranked as a master tries to come in, he can deny their registration.
All right. So will tournament? I mean, because we do have some directors that play and stuff like that. Will you be able to be on the app as both a director and a player?
Yes, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to, because the tournament director side is really just for the pool hall itself, or the director, and so then you would be able to have two different sides to it.
Okay.
And then when you download the app, you get one chance to rank yourself. I'm just hoping that everybody's as honest as possible. After that, only tournament directors can rank players. So if somebody comes into your tournament and you think he's playing way above what he should be, you can go in and rank him up. I'm really counting on people to be honest when it comes to that part of it. Maybe in the future we'll have something like the Fargo has, to where like a point system where you can move up and down that way. But until then, we're going to rely on our tournament directors to just really pay attention when they can and see how people are playing.
So you said you're not real sure about when it'll go live yet, but you think it's soon?
Yeah, I would hope within the next month. I just talked to one of the developers a couple days ago, and he said that here in the next week or two, I'll be getting the testing. So I'll be able to go in and download the app. Hopefully, I'll be able to have some other colleagues download it, kind of look through it. We'll run like a fake tournament just to make sure everything's 100% before we actually put it out there live.
Awesome. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun and definitely
I'm
helpful.
hoping that it really like brings more players together. I have a lot more ideas for this app, but nothing's free.
Right. Yeah. It takes money to make money.
Take a while.
It takes money to make money.
Yeah.
That's how they say it. So.
And I'm not doing this to try to become a millionaire. I my first thing is to give back to players. Get them out there, get them to play.
Right.
Gotta
have players to make the sport and the app work. So you're definitely gonna do something like that. So it's houserack.com, and you can search House Rack on Facebook, right?
Yep. It's House Rack at Facebook, and then the House Rack, and then it's the houserack.com for the website, and you'll see when you Google it, you'll see Dustin Duche underneath it, upcoming app.
Awesome. Well, maybe we get you when you get through the next phase or something like that. Maybe we can get talking with you again, and maybe we can help share a little bit of it with some people when it comes down. So definitely keep us updated on that.
I will.
We will get some links out there. I appreciate you taking some time to tell us about it. Sounds like it's going to be an awesome app. That's House Rack.
Yeah. One last thing. As soon as if this app does start taking off, the first thing I want to do is start profit sharing with the tournament directors. To give the pool halls, the tournament directors, a cut of the pre-entry fee, because I think that's the most important part of this app, is really keeping the pool halls open, keeping tournaments going. So giving a kickback to the people who run it and take the time to do that, I think is important.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not just saying that because that's what I do, but it sounds like a good
Yeah.
idea. It does sound like a great idea. I'm glad somebody's so it's good to see people taking interest and doing something to try to make the sport better and it's always good and appreciated a bunch, Dustin. Um,
Oh yeah.
it's House Rack, the House Rack. You can find it on
Yep.
Facebook, and you can Google it, and you will find the website and find out all about it. And I think it's a group on Facebook, right? I think it is, so you can check
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
out.
There's a group on Facebook. If anybody has any questions, just post that question on there. Larry the Favors has been a big part of this with me, helping me out, giving me ideas, stuff like that. So if I don't answer it, Hollywood will.
Awesome. Well, it's great talking to you, Dustin. I'm gonna let you enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks for giving us a call or letting us call you to talk to you about it, and we'll
Oh
check
yeah,
back.
I appreciate it, bud.
No problem. We'll check back in with you in a couple weeks and see how it's going. All right.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks a lot, bud.
Yep. Have a great night, Dustin. Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, I think I got all my technical stuff out of the way, so I really apologize for the first couple minutes. You guys sitting there watching me yapper my lips and not hearing anything and messing up the intro. It's been a weird day, man. It's been a weird day. Been all off whack a little bit. Don't forget you can be part of the show. Give me a text or something. And if you would like, I will give you a call on air and we can talk. Um, talk about all kinds of stuff pool related. Tell me about your plans for going back once we're allowed back in the halls. How you plan on making your return? You're gonna go full on out. You're gonna go stormtrooper all masked up and whatever the case may be. I mean, a lot of it's obviously going to depend on the restrictions and things like that. So I'm sure that will dictate things. So we I don't know if any of you guys have seen this or not. I mean, I try to, like I've said before on previous episodes, I'm going out of my way to share as much as I possibly can for the local venues that have supported pool and anything else league wise, and the ones that are doing everything they can to keep things going during this pandemic. And there's a lot of our local vendors or local venues that have been doing what they can carry out and things like that. The ones that serve food have been doing their curbside and things like that. Um, and I could be here. We could sit here all night and talk about all the great places that are doing stuff. I know that I believe the cooler is back to doing some stuff curbside now. He just had a nice little margarita thing. And been trying to talk to him some and see if we can get one of them on and talk to them a little bit, and hopefully maybe they're watching or somebody will tell them that we mentioned them and want to talk to them. Give us a text and we'll give you a call and talk to you. But if you haven't seen them yet, and I don't know how you couldn't if you're not on the Facebook TNT page, if you're not watching that or what, but Froggy's up there in Rock Falls has been they've been cooking their butts off doing curbside and delivery, and she has been making some of the funniest videos I have ever seen for advertising for Froggies and their food. And it's, if you haven't yet, go get on Facebook, search Froggies in Rock Falls, and check out the videos that she's been posting to advertise their food specials and the things they got going on. And of course, recently they posted a really nice thank you message to everybody that's helped out and supported them by ordering and picking up food there and stuff like that. They crack me up every time I open Facebook and I see one of those dancing fries or pizzas or it's just cracking me up. She is killing it over there. So if anybody knows her or if she's watching or listening, text me. I want to talk to you. Like I said, any of these small locals that see this, and this is in a specific area. I mean, if you are going through this pandemic and you are a small local and you're doing everything you can to keep things going until this gets over, get a hold of me. Let me share your story with people. Let me share what you're doing and see what we can do to help. We hear this way too much, but it is kind of true. We're all in this together. So, let's do what we can to help each other out. So, while you guys are figuring out to send me some text so I can give you a call, I did an interview yesterday or the day before, I'm not sure. And I've mentioned his name a couple times on the episode before, a couple episodes before. He's a promoter. He's an operator, a director. He's a shooter. He's an instructor. This guy wears a ton of hats and he does a lot of stuff. So this interview is a little longer than most because he wears so many hats. So we did questions from both sheets, so it took a minute. So, but it's a good one. There's a lot of information shared here, and the the passion that he has for what he does, um, it's 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 people like this that it's people like this that do what he does that keeps lighting little fires under players and keeps them in the pool halls and stuff like that. So, um, check this interview out. Send me some texts. Hit me up in the Facebook comments and be part of the show. We're gonna be here for a little bit tonight. I've got some stuff I'd want to try to talk about a little bit if we can. I would really love to talk to some of you. So give me a text. Let me text me your name and number, and I will get back to you. And we'll talk pool. We'll talk pandemic. Tell me what you've been doing. How you've been staying in stroke. If you're able, just shoot me a text, and I'll give you a call back here. Check out this interview with Eric Narretto we did just the other day. I will be back in just a few minutes. Hopefully, I did everything right on this. So check it out. I'll be right back. It's TNT's Off the Rail. This is Bud. I'm sitting here talking with Eric Narretto. Eric, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, just glorious, glorious, glorious. You love that word, don't you?
I do. I do.
Where are you from,
Good
Eric?
word.
It is a good word.
I grew up in Odell, Illinois, which is a super small town, about 10 minutes north of Pontiac, where I reside now.
Awesome. So I've been kind of trying to get together with you to talk to you because we've mentioned your name in the past couple episodes over some stuff. You wear a lot of hats. You're a player. You're an operator. You're a director. You do a lot of stuff, and we like I said, your names come up recently in a couple conversations. We just talked to Brian Jason last week about some stuff, and so we're gonna pull out both pages here and ask you a bunch of questions. So,
Okay.
first off, what got you into pool? What was it that made you go, "Yep, all right, this is what I got to do."
Well, to be completely honest, I kind of found it by mistake. I needed a game where I didn't need a coach. I was a baseball player before I was a pool player, and I ran into some town politics. I'm not gonna come out and say that I was the best baseball player on the squad, but I was definitely better than what my coach thought I was, and people knew that. So um, I quit the team my senior year of high school, and the thing you got to know about that is my mom never let me quit anything. So if my mom let me quit, you knew I was in a pretty bad deal, and I needed to find a game for me to bide my time that I didn't need a coach for, and I didn't have anyone to tell me, you have to sit on a bench or, tell me what to do. And thank God for Jeanette Lee, because shortly after um, quitting the baseball team, I saw her do a trick shot competition on ESPN. It was right after church on a Sunday. ESPN used to have pool and bowling on about I don't know, about 10ish to about noonish, and it was 1 hour of pool and it was 1 hour of bowling. And growing up in a bowling alley, I loved to watch both of them. So I saw Jeanette Lee do a crazy trick shot with a bunch of backspin, and I thought it was the coolest thing I ever seen. So I went to Kmart and I bought my beautiful titanium cue with the messed up ferrule and the screw-on tips. So now I was a professional pool player, and there was nothing that anybody was going to do to stop me. So that's how it all began.
So without dating yourself too bad, I guess how long have you been shooting?
Um, I started hitting balls for fun when I was 16. So competitively, I started to love it when I was about 18. So competitively, I've been playing pool for 13 years, but altogether, I would say 15.
Right on. And what do you of all the different games that are out there to shoot? What are your primary games? Eight ball, nine ball.
Uh, Pontiac, where I grew up playing pool competitively, is an eight-ball town, so that is the game that I definitely know best. I grew up on a 9-footer, so I've kind of seen them all. I've even played some um, games that some people have never heard of before. I don't know if you've heard of Alabama. I've heard of Philadelphia. Um, oh, I'm trying to think of the name of the game too, where you make combinations of 15. The name's out of my head right now, but I think it's a card game too. I can't remember that game off the top of my head, but definitely I'm a dominant eight-ball player. That's if someone were to come up to me right now and say, any game for this amount of money, even if I'm going to get my butt kicked, I got to choose eight-ball because that's the one that I'm most comfortable with.
So when you're shooting, what do you what which do you play? Do you play more leagues? Do you play more tournaments?
I would call myself a predominant tournament player now. There was a time where I shot in more leagues than tournaments, but like you said, wearing the different hats, there's a lot of drama that comes with that territory. So I try to limit myself in my life to as little drama as possible. So the pool leagues have kind of gone on the wayside for me in terms of playtime and importance. The tournaments now, I love to walk into a tournament, whether if it's 5 people or whether if it's 200 people. It's just the thrill gets me going a little more. There's not as much drama as there is thrill. There's a major difference between those two words. Drama is when afterwards you want to go outside because maybe you didn't call a ball or something like that. But the thrill of it is having a solid set, whether if it's a race to 5 or a race to 11 with someone. It doesn't matter if you go hill with them or if you get beat 11-0. The thrill is 10 times higher than any league, in my opinion.
All right. So, talking about that, and you obviously shot both. Uh, how would you explain the mindset of each discipline, league versus tournament?
Oh wow. Um, I think they're very different, but in my opinion, they should be the same. As a pool player, if you want to get better, you should never take anything for granted. And what I noticed when I started in leagues, that was the super serious mentality. And then as I got stronger and I started to experience tournaments, um, pretty much I got to experience the money. I call it the blood. When you finally shed blood for the first time and you come home and you realize, holy crap, I just went to battle. Whether you win $20, $100, or $1,000, um, it's just a different mindset. And going into league, you realize I have to play for 20 weeks against 20 different teams to win $110 a piece, something like that. So when you taste that blood of coming home knowing that you got your pocket full of hundreds, and at most you can win in a league is $100, it's hard to keep that mentality. But if you can find a way to keep the same mentality, I'm about there now. I'm so competitive now to where I try my best to keep that mentality wherever I go. But that's just been within the last year. I can tell you, as of last year, I didn't give a holy crap about leagues, and truthfully, I still don't. But my level of play has gone up within the year just because of some of the things I've come across, teachings I've come across, that kind of stuff.
Um, yeah, that see the men. It's always it seems like that's the one handle I'm grasping at still sometimes is finding that right place for my head, going back and forth between those things. Um, so you've played tournaments, bigger tournaments here and there. Have you played in any large sanctioned state or national tournaments anywhere?
Yeah, I actually had there's a story, a very personal story for me when it comes to the state level. If you've seen any of my crazy quote glorious videos, you have found out by now that I am a two-time state champion. I have no problem in my videos telling everybody that because that's kind of the character that I put on. But in 2016, October of 2016, I won the Iowa State Championship, and then turn around the following March of 2017, I won the Illinois State Championship. So within a pool calendar year, I had happened to snap off two state events. So that's it's a pretty cool thing for me. You know, I mean, it takes a lot for a lot of people to win one, and then to know that that year that year was my year. You know, there was a little bit of rivalry going on between me and a guy named Jason from Tennessee, and we were exchanging videos back and forth on Facebook. It's kind of how the Glorious thing came about, and he's a good guy, and you know, a lot of it was staged, you know, but the action was not. And I mean, I wanted to kill him as soon as I got to that pool table, you know, but it was still a little bit of fun and games. But what we'd run into, he'd actually sent me a video he posted on Facebook that actually pissed me off a little bit, and it was about the only video that I actually knew kind of got under my skin a little bit. He said some things not knowing that hit home pretty hard, and you know, he didn't know me that well to know that that wouldn't affect me. And the video I sent back was pretty quick, and I told him that if he ever wanted to show up in Illinois, I would rob him of everything he had. And I told him that this year was my year, and he wasn't going to stop me, and neither was anybody else. And then to turn around to find out I win two state championships in that year was pretty psychologically crazy for me. You know, it's first time in my life where I actually said, you know what, forget everybody, I'm going to do something. And then it turns out I actually did it. So kind of cool story.
Makes it a whole bunch sweeter when you set out to do it, and it just didn't kind of. So you mentioned that they were Iowa and Illinois. Which were they? Were they the ACS or? They
were. I'm a huge advocator of the American Q Sport Alliance. I have gotten to know John Lewis, who's the executive director, very well, and I can tell you he is one of the only league promoters that I know of that really allow you to do your own thing. He is completely just a sanctioning body. If I call him and say, hey, John, I've got this area here that's got 30 people in it, you mind if I sanction the league? He's going to go, I don't care, whatever. As long as I get my $10 sanction fee, you can do whatever you want. So I can run the league. I'm my own boss. I can run the league in any league format that I want, however I want to do it, and he is never going to say a word. When you run into APA, TAP, BCA, Valley, it just always seems that there's a boss. There's someone that you got to answer to at a higher level. So for anyone who's ever interested in becoming a league operator, I'm always going to recommend the ACS, because ultimately the only way that you're going to have a problem with John Lewis or anybody in that department is if you screw your players, basically, you know, stealing money or something like that, because we know it's out there. I know you haven't done it, and I know I haven't done it, but we know it's out there, and I know I've been a part of a league where money has disappeared before. So just knowing that I can do it my way, it's a big thing for me, because I'm a player first, and I always ask myself, would I want this? And if I answer myself, you know what, I think that would be pretty cool to put in a league, I put it in my own league to see how it's going to work. Sometimes it doesn't work. Most of the time it does, because I'm not looking to make money. I'm looking to make the pool playing experience that much better. So I think the rules and you know, the obligation that I have to the leagues that I run, I think it runs pretty well, and the majority of the people there respect what it is that I'm doing. They know foremost that I'm trying to make it better for them than for me.
Well, it kind of answers one of my questions, I guess, was things that you think are key to a good league, and it is you know, the biggest things always are, you know, doing what's best for the player, you know, transparency, things like that. So if you had to, or were going to, how would you recommend these state events to players? And if you know, in that recommendation, would you say to them, you know, maybe get your feet under you, play some leagues first, or you know, how exactly would you go about that? How, you know, is there a place that you recommend a player should be before they go and put themselves into a situation like that? At this, you know, the Illinois and the Iowa ones they're decent events. I mean, the last year in St. Charles, it was real nice. The Illinois one was real nice. Uh, you know, how do you think that a player needs to be in a certain place to put themselves into that situation, or do you think it's something go, you know, this might help you decide how much farther you want to go, you know?
You know, I'm an old school kind of person. I was raised by old school people, and the old school philosophy was no better way to get better than to get thrown to the wolves. So that's how I was raised, was getting thrown to the wolves. You know, if I have to look back at it now, and I would tell myself, is that something that you know, I would do to a player? There's a couple steps first. You know, I'd have to get to know that player first. You know, one of the big things and the big arguments that we deal with is what does pool mean to somebody? It's normally two things. One being it's a drunken or sober night of fun where you're just going to go out and play, or number two is something, you know, how I aspired to be. I wanted to try to be the best. You know, I wanted to go out there and I wanted to practice. So after you get to know that individual, if it's someone that I know is competitive and someone that I feel wants to take that leap, I would tell them the leagues are great, but I think you're going to get your best experience from playing tournaments. But the reason why I say that isn't probably what you think. A lot of people would probably say that in means of going out and maybe running into, I don't know, who's a great player in Illinois, who's well known, Ike Runnels. Okay, so you go to a tournament, you find Ike, and you draw Ike first round, you know, and it's great to play Ike Runnels in the first round of a tournament. Ike's a phenomenal player, and if you watch Ike, he's gonna show you some things without even having to talk to him. But the biggest thing for me that got me from point A to point B and made me realize that tournaments where I want to be, it's the player's ability to ask questions. If you're not going to ask a question, you're never going to get any better. You cannot expect a player who's better than you to willingly give away information without asking that question first. Anyone who knows me when I was younger, the guy who taught me how to play knew that as soon as I walked into a pool room, I was like a kid in a candy store. I'd watch and I'd find that best player, and as soon as that guy did something, I mean, I understood the difference between money and you know, just practicing. But if that guy was just over there practicing on a table, I had no problem walking up to him and say, hey, how did you do that? Will you show me how you did that? What's the worst he's going to tell me? No. That's the kind of way I look at it. If you walk up to me and I just shot a shot that you'd never seen before, what's the worst that I'm going to tell you? Figure it out yourself? Well, I'm going to tell you, if I tell you to figure it out yourself, I'm a butthead. That's just what it is. You know, I should want to give you that information because it's only going to make you better. Who cares if you pass me up? What difference does that make? Why should I hinder your experience, you know, just because maybe I had a rough road? A lot of those older players, they don't like to give away information. They like to keep it because they want you to find out the hard way, and also there's a chance that they take away money from you. You know, if you go into a old school pool room, Ride the Nine in Bloomington. They used to have some of the best Monday night 9-ball tournaments in the state of Illinois. 32, 40 people every week. And Mike Dunklin down there used to run those tournaments for years and years and years. Nobody walk in the room. Nobody could beat Mike all the time. And then you run into someone who can beat Mike, and you have to wonder why. Well, I guarantee you, I love Mike to death, but Mike didn't give him any information. They got it from somewhere else. Mike's been a good friend of mine for a long time, but he's one of those old school cats. You know, he's one of those guys that's not going to give away that information. He's going to make you earn it. He's going to make you watch as he pummels you for that money. You want to know how you do it? You watch Mike Dunklin shoot it 20,000 times. You're going to figure out how to do it because he's never going to tell you yes or no. So as far as your question goes, you start with the leagues, but as soon as you can get to a tournament, like that Monday night tournament was only a $15 entry fee. It was a race to 4 playing 9-ball, but you had the opportunity to play some great players back in the 90s. I mean, Sarah Rousey's dad owned that for a long time. That's still Sarah's home pool room. Sarah still plays in Bloomington, and you've got players in Champaign. You've got players in Peoria. Bobby McGrath used to come over. Jude X. James. Jeanette Lee, when she was in town, she used to go to that tournament. There's a whole bunch of good old school players. John Clayton from Champaign. All these players that used to come in there and used to play some outstanding pool. So once you can get to that tournament, man, it's only $15. Go in there, put your money in, and get your ass kicked a couple times. See how it feels, but what do you take away from it?
Right.
You never lose. You always learn.
Right, exactly.
What people don't get. Yeah, you never lose. As long as you learn something, it's never a loss. It's never wasted.
It's a hard lesson sometimes, but it's still a lesson. It's still a lesson. Do you remember your very first tournament? The first tournament you ever bought into and played?
Well, going back in time, I remember a couple. I'm not entirely sure which one was the first. I think I do. I think it was at the bowling alley that about 8 of us, young kids, average age probably 20 to 17, somewhere in there. About 8 to 10 of us would run a tournament on a Friday night, and these were Brunswick Gold Crown 2s, and they weren't very well taken care of. Our philosophy was if you could make a ball in those pockets, you could make a ball absolutely anywhere, because we were using the old school clay Centennial balls. So they were a little smaller in size, so they'd rattle a lot easier because they'd hit the concave parts of the pockets on the old Brunswick. So if we could send a ball into a hole there, I mean, that's why, like, in our leagues, that's why we were so popular coming up once we turned 21. They didn't know it, but they always noticed that if you came out of the bowling alley for some reason, you didn't miss a ball. And that was why. I mean, obviously we were going from a 9-foot to a bar table, which helps us anyway.
Right.
But I mean, just our ability to pocket a ball was stronger as soon as we turned 21, because we've been shooting on those 9-footers all the time. And in order for us to make a ball, the ball couldn't rattle. So yeah, it's starting to come back to me now. There were about 10 or 11 of us, and I got my butt throlloped. We would shoot a race to 4, and it was 8-ball. 8-ball on a big table, alternate break, and we would play what was called Fiesta rules. So basically what it was is your typical ACS, BCA rules, except the 8-ball counted on the break. That was about the only difference. You had your ball in hand, so ACS with the 8-ball count on the break. But I know I didn't win. I can't remember how far I got. I think I won 1 match, but then I'm pretty sure I got my butt kicked the next 2, and I had to watch the rest of the night.
That's kind of about the story of my tournament career. A lot of butt kickings. So let's change hats here for a minute. You're also an operator, obviously, and a director, and among other things. I know you do some lessons as well. But how long? When did you start? When did you get into running leagues and tournaments? And which one did you start doing first? Did you start with tournaments or did you start running leagues?
I started running. I got two leagues that I run right now, but I've run the Pontiac Pool League now for 10 years. So I got a little bit of introduction into leagues. The year before that, I actually worked for an amusement company out of Bloomington, and I was a Valley operator for about a year, somewhere in there. So I've had that's why I was telling you about John Lewis. I've been in that Valley format. There is a boss that you have to answer to, and the problem with that is sometimes your boss doesn't know as much as you do. And that's, I can say that now because the amusement company that I work for isn't even in business anymore. So I can say that and not have any repercussions of that. But they didn't have a clue about pool at all. They wouldn't let me do the things that I wanted to do. So once again with the ACS, as soon as I was able to get that hat on and I realized I could do things how I want, wow, magically things got better, But I've been running that league for 10 years now. This was my 10th anniversary. And in 2012, I got tired of traveling to Iowa. There were like no pool tournaments in Illinois. You had to go to Indiana, you had to go to Iowa, and I bet there were tournaments in Illinois, but I had to travel 4 hours south down to that little panhandle that's still Illinois, but like that whole southern area doesn't even really leave, like go up north because I don't know, like we're the devil or something like that, you know. I just decided, I'm like, man, I got to get something going because I'm exhausted with having to travel to Davenport or past Davenport all the time. Davenport was probably the closest decent tournament area for me. Sharky's Billiards, Eric Gardner ran a lot of stuff out of there when it was predominantly a pool hall. And, that was 2 hour drive, man. So I'm like, what can I do to put me in a situation to where I can still play in tournaments, but I don't have to drive 2 hours down I-80. If anybody knows what it's like to drive I-80, you know what I'm talking about. It's the road that never ends, and 2 hours feels like four. And you fall asleep 5 or 10 times. You listen to the same CD 6 or 7 times, and it just feels like you're going nowhere. I ran the Illinois State Billiard Tour for 3.5 years. And that was a huge experience for me, building connections and contacts, to seeing different venues and seeing different players. It was the first time that I met Justin Bergman, down in Quincy, Illinois, Stephen Bauscher, Sky Woodward. All those guys, they came to my tournaments down in Southern Illinois long before Justin and Sky were even known. So it's kind of cool to know that I knew two Moscone champions decently as a director, and now I'm sure there are some places that they go where they say, hey, we'll give you $1,500 just to walk in the door. Well, I'm not like that, but I mean, I don't think Justin or Sky really is either, but I mean, hell, if they're going to offer it to him, why on earth would you turn that down? You know what I mean? So I've been really up and down. Instead of traveling to 80, I started traveling kind of 55, all the way up towards Chicago and then all the way down into St. Louis. So there was a bunch of players that I got to meet, and that was some of the craziest things that I'd ever done in my life. But I met some really good friends in the process of it that I still talk to, and if it wasn't for them, I would not be where I am. You're talking about all the different hats I wear. I wouldn't be anywhere close to where I am without those people.
And it sounds like a lot of work. Of course, as operators and directors, we make all that giant money, so it makes it that much easier for us.
Yeah.
But now, with all the experience, now you run. Like you mentioned, you primarily are running Pontiac. You run a streeter league, which is actually those two leagues are kind of how we met back in January. For your second annual G1 Showdown, which I guess I'll let you explain it for anybody who doesn't know.
Sure. So I have, ever since I really found out what it was, I have just been a huge fan of the dynamic of the Moscone Cup. And the cool thing about the Moscone Cup, and I just don't think people really see a connection of it. Like, people go crazy in the Moscone Cup, but you see, I had different opportunities to go crazy long before that when I was a kid, and that was something that I called WrestleMania back in the day. But when I saw my first Moscone Cup, I kind of thought, oh my God, this is the WrestleMania of pool. This is where people truly gather around one table, and these players, they have to shoot when people are screaming and lights are flashing, and the referee is just like in wrestling. They don't have any control even though they're supposed to. You don't know how many times the referee has to tell the crowd to shut up, and guess what? They don't do it, especially in Europe. I've watched enough of it now. You got those guys. Those guys are so disrespectful over there in Europe, and this might get me some, flank, but it's just the truth. You come over to America, and they say, quiet, please. You rarely hear an American speak. But then just the last couple times that we were over in Europe, it just kind of sucked because, the referees, they tried to do their best, and the people just wouldn't be quiet. And I can't remember if it was this year's Moscone Cup or the last year's Moscone Cup, but the referee stopped the match and said, "This player will not shoot this ball until you be quiet." And that was a major thing, So the G1 Showdown, I was like, I wonder if I could give my pool league players an opportunity to do that. So I thought about doing something like this for about 6 years, and then a Pontiac player who was the captain of the Pontiac team for the last 2 years, his name is Jim Doppler. He came up to me one day and he said, "Eric, you got this league in Pontiac, you got this league in Streator. Have you ever thought about putting them up against each other?" And he couldn't even finish it, and my mouth was yes, just right off of it. So I knew that when he said it, it was time to do it, because that meant players were thinking about it. So I'll give a quick rundown of how I did it, if anybody's wondering how I did it. So I had my 2 leagues set up, and my Pontiac league is a 4-person league. My Streator league is a 3-person league. So I use the same format for both. It's just Pontiac's going to accumulate an extra point every week, because it's a 4-person team and not a 3-person team. So here's what happens. If you walk in the door, to play league, you just can't walk in the door and receive points. So people ask me that. You'd be surprised how slide.
If it's not wrote down, somebody's gonna go.
Right.
Hey, I'm here.
The rules had to be top notch. What if I had a player from Pontiac who shot in both leagues, or what if I had a player from Streator who shot in both leagues? How was I going to determine who they played for? Or things like that. So you had your 4 people that you would write down on your score sheet. They would automatically receive a point, basically as a thank you. You're coming in, you're paying your $7, whether if it's to the league, I take a portion of that, whatever the case is, but you're paying your dues. So I'm going to give you a point as to say, thanks for shooting on Sundays. And then what happens is, after that point, it's completely up to them. They earn a point for every win they receive in the league, all the way up until the qualifying round is over. And that's how the exact same way over in Streator. So in Pontiac, there was a maximum of 5 points that you could earn, the 1 point for walking in the door, and then if you won all of your matches, because it's an ACS sanctioned league, so you're playing everybody once, so you have a chance to win 4 games, you can get a maximum of 5 points. Streator, since it was a 3-person team, you got that point for walking in the door. Well, you only have 3 people to play, so if you win out of those games, it tallies up to 4 points. So after that, they voted on a captain, and myself and person by the name of Nina Vaughn, who had been helping me run the Streator League, we kind of kept, what do I want to say, kind of dominance, I guess is maybe the word I'm looking for. Our decision was final as to what things were going to happen, and I chose, with the help of the Pontiac players, a Pontiac captain 2 years ago, and the same thing happened for Streator with Nina, but ultimately our decision was final, because as you saw, what I was putting together, there couldn't be any bull crap. Everything had to be the right stuff. So that's how Jim Doppler got formed. That's how Tom Casey was brought in, and there was no bull crap with that. And both leagues were happy with their captains. And so that was a guarantee, and they were guaranteed for 2 years no matter what. So even if Pontiac would have lost the first year, as long as Jim Doppler shot in the league, he was guaranteed the captain spot for the next year. And that was the same thing with Tom Casey. So, and the reason why I did that, like I said, I'm a player foremost, and I thought to myself, if I lost, would I want another chance? The answer is yes. So I'm like, okay, so whichever one of them had to lose. So to take that spot from them right away, well, they'd be pissed. So I wasn't going to do that. So I guarantee the captain spot for 2 years. And then it's a five-person team from each league. The next 3 players, they qualify. with the points that I was talking about through the point system. The final one is a captain's pick. So Jim and Tom both could talk with their team, but as the drama factor, we were going to see if any power hungry people kind of took over or whatever the case was. That was that, I would say, definite WrestleMania factor is, were they going to talk with their team, or were they just going to pick who they wanted to and say, forget their team? How much of a captain were they going to be?
Right.
So, and how you had to qualify for the captain's pick. The Illinois ACS state tournament is 6 weeks to qualify. So I have 10 weeks leading up to where qualifying is done. You have to shoot 6 of those 10 weeks in order to be considered for the captain spot. So you got to qualify for the ACS state tournament. So I'm still keeping my word to John Lewis. Even if they don't go, they qualified for it. And then that way I could just use that as a way to help with the G1 showdown. So all of those players that you saw were qualified for the Illinois State tournament. There was no BS involved, in my opinion. These were the top 5 players that each league had to offer, and I hopefully had set it up to where we were going to get those best 5, at least for the first 10 weeks of each league. And then they battled it out, as you saw, and the rest is a pretty interesting thing.
Yeah, it was. I was really glad when you got a hold of me and I got to be a part of it. It was an awesome. I always tell people about it because obviously it sparked a lot of interest among other operators and things because there's myself included. We're all looking and trying to do our own version of it because it was great. The energy and the environment and everything that it created was right down to the little crowd section. Angel over there at La Villa did an amazing job hosting it. It was awesome, and it couldn't have played out better. It had a nice strong start, kind of a little stall, and then things kind of got tied up, and then it got real tense for a minute, and it was a really great event. I give big props to you. You did a great job creating that experience for those players and giving them that feeling because you could see it and everybody was really engaged with it, and it was awesome. And I'm hoping you guys are doing it again. I know when we talked to Brian, he was real excited about it. He actually mentioned it was one of his top pool moments so far. And
well,
I
watched your video with Brian, and I did comment on the post on Facebook. Truthfully, there's just been a lot of drama that's gone on with it. When you put on something that big, you got to deal with a lot of crap. And I was really at my wit's end with it this year. And, watching your video with Brian and seeing how much it actually meant to him, that was what I needed to hear. So I told him he might be the sole reason there's a year 3.
That's good to hear, and I'm looking forward to being part of that again for sure. So if people wanted to find out some more about this, because as we're talking about it being a year 3, this past January was the second one. And there was one the year before. So if you wanted to send some people to check out some of your stuff for Pontiac or Streeter, is there some groups or Facebook pages or anything like that they can check out?
So yeah, if they want to check out how the G1 Showdown went, you can actually go to Facebook and type in annual G1 Showdown, and there's a page for it. It's really only active right around G1 season, but you can see the different posts that I put on from where it began. You can see the finish lines room that I'd set up the night before. Angel has a unique setup in his bar. Mm-hmm. So what you saw there was one thing, but where we run it in Chenoa, the owner, Frank Summers, there gives me his entire back room to make an arena. So I really that took me like 6 hours to make sure that everything was right for that. And it was a phenomenal first experience, and we're going to come back to Chenoa, so we're going to have that opportunity to set that up again. To be completely honest, the setup that I had in mind for La Villa was very different than the one that you saw set up when we went in there. I got to give Tom Casey some props, because when we walk in there, about a few hours before you were even there, We'd spoken the night before, and I decided to listen to him and make the switch to put the chairs where it was. And originally, which was going to be a really bad decision, the chairs were going to be where you did your commentary.
Mm.
So we would have had people constantly going back and
Yeah,
forth.
it worked out. We did have
Yeah,
some traffic, but it
yeah,
worked out. And I did, like I said, I really liked that little seating, and we put some butts and seats in there. There were
yes.
definitely people there to watch. And
Both years, man. I got compliments from both people that they put butts in seats, and to my surprise, honestly, being the referee, I just don't get to pay attention to the crowd that much. Not only did it put butts in seats, both of them have told me it generated stupid money, and I didn't really realize that. Especially the first year that I did it. I mean, the owner called me the next day and said that was crazy, the amount of money that I made that
it,
day.
it's
And so that was pretty cool. So yeah, once again, it's the annual G1 Showdown, and if you type that in, that'll pop up. Um, I have two Facebook pages for both my leagues. I would tell you that if you want the most information um, to see how I run my league, I would tell you to go to the Pontiac Sunday League pool page, and that's just because I've run that one for 10 years. So in Streeter, I have no problem talking about it. I'm kind of a polarizing figure in Streeter for numerous amount of reasons. The main reason being is I speak my mind, and there are some people that don't like that. So but to be honest, I made a lot more friends and a lot more enemies because they know without a shadow of a doubt I'm going to tell you what I think, whether you like me or not. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a straight shooter. It is what it is. But I just haven't had the chance to get the Streeter League quite off the ground yet, with everything that has gone on. Pontiac, I grew up here. They knew who I was. I'm established. I'm established a little bit in Streeter. There are some players that know me, but that's like 20 to 80%. The other 80 know me as that polarizing figure. They haven't had the opportunity to get to know me yet and realize, like I said earlier, I'm a pool player above all. I'm going to try to give you the best that I can, you know. So that's the Pontiac Sunday Pool League page. And then if you do know some people from Streeter, if you're up over in Ottawa and you're interested in coming over and playing, I know Danny Blackburn lived even further up north, and he came down and he got to experience the G1 Cup.
mm-hmm.
You can go to Streeter Sunday Night 8 Ball on Facebook, and the Facebook page for that will pop up as well. I do have the admin stuff turned on just in case some false people tried to get into it and post something about shoes or something
Right.
ridiculous like that.
Yeah,
But
unfortunate that you
I
can't
will,
just yeah.
I'll look around and I'll see who I have in common. Obviously, if you're watching this broadcast, one person that we're going to have in common is you. So if you have a mutual friend in there, I've got no problem letting them have access to that page.
We'll throw some links up there, and they'll float around there somewhere, and we'll
Sure.
put some information for people to find it in there. Again, like I said, it was such an awesome experience. You can check it out as well on the TNT YouTube channel. You can find some of the stream there. It was a ton of fun. You did some really cool stuff through it. You did a great job running things, taking care of things, and the trophy presentations, the opening ceremonies, everything like that. It was just you could see the passion that you have and brought into it, and that's something that that the sport needs. Like I was saying to Brian, all the professionals and the big things that go on in pool came from places and things like this, and those are the kind of things that we need to start highlighting and giving them more exposure to along the way. So back to the league, the operator thing, with everything that's going on, and I think I might have kind of tried to ask Brian, he wasn't real sure. Did this whole current situation, the pandemic, did this affect any of your leagues? I know you're looking at the one page, one of your leagues had just finished. I think both of them actually just finished, right?
I got super lucky. The Pontiac League ended the very first day that Governor Pritzker decided to start making TV announcements about COVID-19. So that was on a Sunday. I was in the establishment at 1 o'clock to hand out trophies and to talk about the next year. We were out by 2 o'clock. He got on the TV about 2:30, and that following Wednesday, establishments were closed until further notice. So I've just gotten out of there. The Streeter League is much smaller. I shouldn't say that. It's only 2 teams smaller, but that also means that it finished up way sooner. So, I mean, that'd be 4 weeks because they play everybody twice. So it'd be 4 weeks sooner, a whole month. So I had no problems getting my leagues done. And from what I see, I was definitely one of the lucky ones who don't have to go through the torment of holding all this money in a bank account, or some people in their own home,
Right.
wondering when they're going to be able to finish their leagues and their year-end tournaments and all that stuff. I'm very grateful I don't have that burden.
So it hasn't affected the beginning of anything either. You didn't have
Mm.
anything getting ready to start.
Nope,
So
I
what?
started everything late September, early October. I start to get a feel right around that time as to how many teams I'm going to have in both leagues, especially the last 2 years, because the G1 Showdown has come to benefit a lot from that. I try my best to give them 10 weeks.
Mhm.
So like this past year in Streeter, I only had 8 teams, which meant that there was going to be a double rotation. There were going to be, in some instances, where the teams got to play each other twice, and there were other times where some other people didn't have to play everybody twice. So I got some feedback on that was really bad. But in the beginning, it was just, look, guys, I told you, I don't care how many teams are in the league. 10 weeks. That's it. 10 weeks. Once 10 weeks, I don't care if you have to play the toughest team 3 times in the league for some crazy reason. 10 weeks of qualifying. That's just what it is. And it's to make my life a little easier, but the way I look at it, if you are the best 5 players that are going to be there, you're going to be there anyway. Doesn't matter who
Right.
you play.
Right.
So it is what it is.
So we've touched on most of your hat rack. I know that you are. There's one other hat that we haven't really talked about, and we'll touch on it real quick. You are also a certified instructor, correct?
Yes, I am. Man, you're right. I got a lot of hats. I
It's a
just
pretty big hat rack. You got room for anything else in
Yeah,
there?
well, I tell you what, there is. That's just in my room. So I mean, yeah, I got that rack over there too. I'm trying to fill that up, but yeah. So I have been a certified instructor with the ACS now for 6 years. And man, I can tell you what, that's been a super interesting road too. So the phone calls that I've gotten from people, because one of the reasons I wanted to pay that fee, the initial fee to be a level 1 certified instructor is $35. So I haven't really seen any reason to go beyond that. There is 4 tiers in the ACS, like there are in most leagues. It's like a kind of like what our ACS league goes. I would say like standard, open, advanced, and a master level instructor or something like that. So by paper, I am a standard instructor, but that's just me of saying I am a cheap instructor. My my name is on the Facebook, or my name is on the ACS website, and that's what that $35 got me. That's what I wanted, was that publicity, was the introduction to say, hey, oh man, well this Eric guy, I've seen him in a couple tournaments, well, and he's promoted by the ACS, so that's a really good way to get my name out there, and it has worked, believe it or not. I didn't think it would, being that on the page that I'm an intro level instructor, but I've gotten a lot of phone calls over the last 6 years from people that I didn't even know that were kind of local. I've gotten some from Bloomington. I had one from Champaign. I had 2 from Rantoul. Now, mind you, they're a little bit of a drive from Pontiac, but just to know that they got on the ACS website, went to that instructors column and found me, and like, holy crap, this guy's only an hour and a half away from me. That was a pretty cool experience. And really where I want to touch on with the instruction is from where I started 6 years ago to where I am now, and anybody who knows me knows this anyway. I have evolved so far from 6 years ago to where I am now. The ability of being able to break things down, go through basics, analyze strokes, mechanic rhythms, all kinds of things like that. There is more to an instructor than just getting that phone call where it's like, hey, I suck, make me better. There's way more to that. I have a gentleman who called me about 6 months ago and saw some pictures that I put on, and he just wants me to watch him play. He wants to see the mechanics. He wants me to twist the mechanics because he knows there's something going on, but there isn't anyone in his area that can really give him the advice to make the delivery to the cue ball better to where he's not making those mistakes. And I've also dedicated myself at least once a year, starting this past year. I'm going to go see Mark Wilson. So a lot of my instruction now has evolved into a lot of what Mark believes is the right way. And the way I look at that is, Mark has gone from playing in the Moscone Cup to coaching the Moscone Cup. He coaches professional caliber players, so obviously he's not lying if professional players feel the need to go see him. I do know a frequent for him is Allison Fisher. I mean, Allison Fisher has been playing on the circuit for years, and still to this day, I mean, she's much older now. She walks into that pool room in any female tournament, and people are scared. They still know that when she walks in the door, the Duchess of Doom's going to put a hurting on you, period. You can't let that girl get away. Age isn't really affecting her as much as it is other people. Why is that? Because she still does things the right way, and Mark helps with that. So, I mean, I've done 2 clinics right before the beginning of each pool season this past year. I did a streeter clinic. I was only by myself, so I only took 4 players. But I only charged $10 in the clinic. 4 hours of material for $10. Why? You shoot my pool league. I tell people all the time. I give almost half off of everything if you support my pool league. If like I borderline do it all. I recover tables. I give instruction. I really dive into this game. So I mean, just think about it. You got a brand new gold crown that you need refelted. Well, that's $450, $500 to bring somebody to do that. I'm going to do it for $200 to $250 just because you shoot my pool league. I mean, I'm going to take that time, and I mean, am I a 100% professional on it? Well, no, but I mean, I know how to recover rails, and I know how to put felt on a slate enough to where I'm okay to advertise myself to do it. So. I mean, just those little things. I try my best to, help the players in any way I can. So.
That hat rack just keeps getting bigger and bigger the more we dive into this. So, and talking about the hats, I keep seeing this one you're wearing here. Pool Gods
Clothing. Yeah, it's Pool Gods clothing. PGC.
Would you tell me a little bit about that? I've seen it a couple places on your site and some of your flyers.
Yeah, let's see if I can get you a close-up of that. Yeah, so this is a hat that was made by, his name's Don Catherall. He's from Champaign, Illinois, and he is by far one of the nicest, most respected and respectful people that I have ever met. So I'm just going to be very truthful with him. I mean, I've been with him now for 2 years, and Don is an APA 6 caliber player, hoping to get to that number 7, but he's still struggling with the 6-7 area region in there. And but I tell you what, how respectful he is. He's from Champaign, and the way that I am when I walk in to run one of my own tournaments. I walk in there, and some people who've never been with me before, I always tell them before I walk in the door, just so you know, give me about 20 minutes. I'm going to have to say my hellos because there's about 150 people in there, and I know about 125 of them. And I got to make sure that I keep my reputation high, that I keep myself able to talk to people, those kinds of things like that. They have to make sure that they know I'm still like that. And that's years of work. I'm an APA 7, I'm a 9, I'm a state champion, I'm all this stuff. I've gained that respect. Don hasn't even been playing long enough to have that opportunity to win those championships yet. He already has that respect in Champaign. I walked into a room with him, I was just floored at the and how he represented himself. So, and this was after he brought me on with this, and at that, it was that moment that I knew that I was with a good product. He's going to do the absolute best to get you what you want. And there's some other people out there that I've dealt with in the past, once again, that think about one thing, and that's a dollar sign. And they're going to do whatever they can. They're going to lie to you. They're going to cheat you to try to get that dollar sign. Why? Because as soon as out of their hands, they don't care. Don's not like that. And that's why I support him wholeheartedly, and that's why I'm always wearing his stuff. I'm always talking about it because he's a straight edge guy. He's not out there to screw people. And in this world today, we need more people like that that are willing to give forth to the game. He reminds me in the clothing sense of how I am in the pool sense. You know, I like you said, I have all these hats that I wear. You know, I mean, I have all these hats that I wear. Am I out to screw somebody? I mean, you know, you got to be out of your mind to think that. And just looking at him, I haven't dove into the designer part yet. I haven't started my own clothing line, and I don't really intend to. That's way more work than I really want to get into. But you know, with everything else that I've done, it was really cool to work with him in that dynamic and to promote such a strong product. And I mean, the hats, the jerseys. I got a jersey that's up there that says the Glorious One. He made that for me. You know, just for shits and grins, but it was definitely one that I cherish, and I hang it up in this is my pool room. I already showed you the rack that was over there, you know. I got a towel that my aunt made. That's a blanket, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, without him, once again, you know, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. He taught me a different dynamic. The cool thing, you know, once again, I go back to the asking questions part. Man, the amount of stuff that I learned just from a clothing business side. All you got to do is ask questions. Who I am now is easy to obtain as long as you've got a curious mind. All you got to do is ask questions. You know, I mean, be surprised. I haven't asked you any questions yet. I see that big microphone that you're talking through. Think about starting to ask you some questions.
I've got no good answers, just good questions. So, yeah, like I said, we've switched a lot of hats. We've dusted off a lot of the rungs on that hat rack, and we talked about the G1. You said you're definitely coming back again with that this year, and that's usually about the same time in January, right?
Yes, the first week of January is when I set it up, right after the new year. The only way that it won't be the first week in January if that weekend happens to be January 1st and 2nd. I'm not doing that over the new year.
Yeah, no,
it'll be the week right after. But I think this year it was like the 8th and 9th, and the year before that it was the 7th and 8th. So I think I've got one more year before it would switch back to the first.
Actually, it was a little earlier. I think it was the 4th. It was
maybe it was the 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th. So I've got a couple years yet before I got to worry about it.
Right, absolutely. So I have exhausted both my papers here. Is there anything you'd like to add? Anybody you'd like to make some shout outs to, or?
Well, I always got to shout out to my wife, Amanda. You know, I love her very much. She lets me do the things that I do. You don't really run into a relationship, you know, like her and I have very often. She knows that I love this game. The second date we ever went on, I took her to one of my pool tournaments, and she watched me win a tournament. I don't know how I possibly did that, but you know, from that moment on, she knew that pool just wasn't a game to me. It was a source of income, and it has stayed that way ever since. We've been together about 5 years now, and she knows, you know, that well, there's been some vacations that we've gone on that have come from billiard money. So, you know, I mean, she knows that it's a source of income. So I try my best to make her happy with that when that becomes available. But to have a wife, you know, I can look at and say, hey, do you care if and before I finish that, she says go. That's a pretty remarkable relationship to have, and I love her for that because she knows that, you know, it's a passion of mine. I always got to thank my pool players too. You know, being part of who I am definitely comes with respect of the pool players, whether it's someone who shoots in my pool league, whether if it's someone who's a regular at my events, someone who advertises for me, who's always willing to help. Those people help me keep those hats on the rung. So without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. And you always got to thank, the people who have taught you. And I've had many, many teachers. If I told you everybody, I tell you what, man, there hasn't been a lot that I was taught that I've forgotten who I got the information from. So there's a long list of people, ever so small, learning how to draw the ball, or something like that, that they've taught me, and I give them credit for that. But it all stems from one individual. His name was George Schweitzer. He just passed away this past October, so he was finally getting up in age, and body wore and tore enough to where he kind of just shut down. But he was pretty much the savior for me. So he was the coach when I told you I didn't need one. Well, I kind of realized that I sucked really bad, and I needed someone to help me. And he originally told me no, because in my younger years I could be a piece of trash sometimes, and he loudmouth. I mean, you know how pool players are, and I was one of those, but I was really young. So I'm very grateful that some of the people that could have tore into me did not tear into me. They understood that I was young, and I had a good teacher that was going to pull me out of that. He originally told me no, but I made a deal with him. If he gave me his phone number, I'd try my best to grow up, mature, and if he, at any point in time he ever thought that I was a waste of his time, he'd just tell me, and I'd never talk to him again. I'd just withdraw, and I'm not going to waste his time. And we were best friends all the way up till his death. So I mean, there's about 15 strong years of some friendship in there that turned into something really good for me. So I guess the last people I should probably always thank are your mom and dad. Mom and dad were very interesting for me. They hated me playing pool when I was younger. They didn't like me going into bars, that kind of stuff. And a lot of that, whether they're happy about it or not, actually drove me to do it. I was the rebel there. So when they said, don't you go play pool there, obviously they knew where I was going to go. But these are the same parents that also ventured out to Vegas to watch me shoot in my first national event. So, I mean, they were supportive once they realized this isn't just a game for you. So I always got to thank them, because even now, I'm out of the house. I've got my own life. One of the first things they ask whenever they see me is, how's the pool stuff going? So they finally figured out what I knew all along, that this was where I was supposed to be. So.
Well, that's awesome. It's good to hear that. And and it's always nice to be able to have the opportunity to thank those. I hope you got where you were, and help keep you where you are. So I look forward to working again with you on the G1, and maybe down the road we can get together, and maybe you can do an instructional segment for the show if you want. It's been a ton of fun talking to you. I've learned a lot of really cool things about you, and I hope other people see a side of you that maybe they didn't know, and understand things a little more about the many hats you wear, and understand, sometimes when we do what we do, there's a lot more to it than just than just throwing some names in a hat and putting them on a board and telling you when it's time to play. So
yeah. There's one thing too that I just thought of that I do want to mention, just because it's so new, and the COVID-19 has really stopped me from doing it. I do have a YouTube channel, and if anyone did go to G1 Billiards, I do have some instruction stuff that's on there. It is very basic, as I've had to borrow friends' tables and things like that. But once this pandemic, finally gets on track and things start opening back up, you can expect a lot of material to go on there. So if people want to go there and subscribe there, Instagram account is G1 TV, and if you went there, that's actually the name of the YouTube channel, is G1 TV. You can go there, and that has a lot of flat platform style drills that you can do. things like that I try to put on there about banking systems and things like that I've learned over the years. So there's a lot of information out there. I just tell you to go to your social media pages. I have a Twitter too, that's G1TV1. Facebook, it's too long. I'm not even going to get into it. Just type my name in Facebook, and I'm sure it will pop up. But once again, I do thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on your show. So this is a good product. I've watched the ones so far, so you're going to do good things.
I appreciate that. Thanks. We'll definitely throw up some more links for everything we talked about today so people will be able to find them as well. We've been talking with Eric Narretto here on TNT's Off the Rail. Thank you so much, Eric. You have a great night, and we'll hopefully see you soon, okay, bud?
Yeah, thank you. Be safe.
Yep, you too. So there you go. That was Eric Narretto. Brought us that G1 showdown that you saw us stream in January. Ton of fun. Sparked the interest of quite a few operators in the area looking to do something similar. So once things get going again, definitely be on the lookout for that coming maybe to somewhere in your area. Some links and stuff that you can find, and just a little bit of Google searching here and there, and check them out on YouTube, G1 TV. And we'll get some more links and stuff up at the TNT Facebook page. Like I said, it was a longer than normal interview that we do. He, like I say, he wears many hats, so we used a lot of pages there. We used both formats for the interviews because of the fact that he is a shooter and an operator and a director and all those many numerous things. Some stuff that I forgot to touch on at the very beginning of the show. We were talking a little bit about our venues, and I had said we were going to talk about how some of them are doing. I said there's a lot of them doing some stuff, doing some digging while that we were watching that. Tomorrow morning, over at the Cooler, from 9:30 to 1 o'clock, you can get your pickup, carry out Bloody Mary, rum punch, or strawberry daiquiri. Ooh, $7. Give them a call, 815-632-3010. That's the Cooler over in Rock Falls. Carry out Bloody Marys, rum punch, or strawberry daiquiris with fresh strawberries. $7. Just give them a call, 815-632-3010, 9:30 to 1. And then we mentioned Froggies earlier. Froggies just posted that they are I think they might have changed their hours up just a little bit. Monday through Saturday, 11 to 8 for pickup, carry out, and delivery of their menu. And if you check out their Facebook page, Froggy's Bar and Grill on Facebook, you could see they posted up their menu, their whole menu. It's right up there at the top. They got it pinned up at the top. Give them a call, 625-4783. That's 815-625-4783, and that's Froggy's in Rock Falls. They got some really good food. We did a fight night over there one time, and I almost had to stop doing commentary because I was so involved in their amazing food. You see the ticker going along there where I kind of add and keep stuff up there about stuff that's obviously been postponed because of the pandemic. One of the most recent postponements was the second annual Wainwright and Joe Valente Memorial Tournament. Was originally scheduled for May 9th. Obviously, that's postponed now. They will work on a rescheduled date as soon as it's possible. So as soon as we find out some more, we'll share it along with you. I don't have any information on where you can find anything out about it online right now. I'm still kind of digging around for that, but I do get some messages from people to tell me about things. So if you know about another league or tournament or something like that we haven't talked about that got postponed because of everything, hit me up on Facebook or text me, let me know, and we'll talk about it on the next episode. Big shout out to Hollywood. We were going to do the Hollywood Pitching Coop call out tonight, but just didn't work out that way. Love you, Hollywood. Miss you. Can't wait to talk to you next week. So you be the man. We're here. We got you. So there's some links on the a bunch of the different pools, groups around there that you'll see that got put up for Hollywood, so check those out. Won't go into a bunch about it, just to show the guy some love. He's amazing. He's awesome. We love him. And, yeah, that's how that rolls. There was something else I was going to talk about. I'm still looking to talk to some venue owners. I would love to get you guys on the phone on the air here and talk to you about some stuff. Let you tell people in your own words what you're doing to get through all this, and maybe tell everybody how much you miss them, because I know it's a mutual thing back and forth. We all miss hanging out in our venues and doing what we do, and I know you guys are obviously missing the heck out of us too. So, and we're all trying to doing everything we can to not go completely stir crazy. And of course, I'd love to hear from some players about what you're doing in your downtime. Are you able to play? Are you how you staying in stroke? And another thing I want to I got a message out, and I'm hoping maybe I hear back from her soon. Valerie over at Esports. You can search her on Facebook. She's out of Canada. She's been doing these awesome Ghost 9-ball tournaments. She's been doing a couple different formats and stuff like that, and they're kind of cool to watch. They're a lot of fun. Our buddy Sam, you saw he was one of our player interviews that we did a couple episodes back. Sam's been playing in those. He's got a couple wins under his belt in there. Been doing really awesome. At one point, Valerie she helped Sam out to raise some money to get his table refelted. So that was pretty cool. She's doing some neat stuff. I love to see how people are adapting and trying to keep people engaged and doing what they do. And my hats are off to her. So if you haven't checked it out, check out Esports Productions on Facebook. Just search it. We've posted a couple links on the TNT page as well. Give that a check out, because it's pretty cool. It's neat to see how she does that. She has a bunch of players who set up a camera in their pool room, and they play the Ghost, and she does it. I believe it's a Zoom-like service where she's got a bunch of videos up of them all, and they go through and they call out their score, and she sits there and takes care of it, does some commentary, does a great job. So hats off to you, Val. Good job. Maybe hopefully you'll see this, or somebody will see it and tell you about it, tell you we were talking about you. I sent you a message and would love to talk to you. Love to sit down and have a conversation with you. So get a hold of us. Don't have much else right now. I thought I did, but it's good long show tonight. It was we learned a lot from Eric, talking to him about all the hats he wears. There are quite a few people in the sport that do that wear a bunch of hats. They do a lot of stuff. They do a lot of stuff, to help the sport become bigger and move it along. And it's takes a special kind of person to take on so much and try to do so much. And we applaud them. So definitely check out some of the links we shared for Eric and his stuff. And don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, make sure you swing by the TNT page, get that a like, and make sure your live notifications are turned on so you keep up with our upcoming material. I do my best. I said, if you're a local, and it doesn't have to be just to say my area, if you're a local and you want some help getting your name out there and letting people know what you're doing during the pandemic, get a hold of me. I want to help in any way I can. I've got all kinds of opportunities, of course. So get a hold of me. Give us a call, 833-868-7665. That's 833-TNT-POOL. Or, of course, you can hit us up at any of the social media outlets. Facebook, we have Instagram, the website, budiswiser.net. Until next time, I'm Bud. This has been TNT Off the Rail. Don't forget to be part of the show. Give me a text, and we can set something up. I can give you a video call. We can do an interview, share your player story or operator story. We can even call you live on the air if you'd like. I appreciate you guys watching. Working on some stuff already, actually, for next week. So make sure you keep up with what's coming up on the TNT page. We talked to Dustin Duche, before I forget, House Rack, the House Rack app. Check that out. You can search it on Facebook. There's a group, and thehouserack.com. Find out more information about that. And we'll check back in with him in a couple weeks and see how it's going. And we appreciate him giving us a few minutes to talk to him. So it's been great. You guys enjoy the rest of your night. I will see you next time. Have a great weekend, and I hope you get to a table soon.